them so much for making this journey. You are on the right side of history. And you're not alone. We are in solidarity with each and every one of you and your colleagues in another state, hosted by my great friend Jimmy Pritzker. Welcome you as well. As I said, history will judge us and how we respond to this moment. Here in New York, we will not stand on the sidelines with the timid souls. On the sidelines who don't care, will not invest their heart and soul into this battle. This is a war. We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on. With that, let me turn it over to our great speaker, Kelly Esteem.
So thank you, Governor, and thank you to our great colleagues from the great state of Texas. I'm a fan of something big in Texas. Everybody knows I'm one of the bigger Cowboy fans, but today
We're not going to go there. You cannot say that sitting next to me.
I'm a Bills fan as long as they don't play against the Cowboys.
These assholes are all about entertainment.
But
Literally, all they
but
all they do for us is entertain us with bullshit.
really, but
We want to do shit that makes sense for a fucking change.
for a serious moment in time, and all things are connected. Democrats and some of the editorial boards of some of the very newspapers who are here keep telling us to play fair. And it's very difficult.
Fake news, fake news. These lying assholes should be fucking fired.
Say play fair when your
All they do is lie to me and you.
opponents are playing dirty and using every tool in their tool shed, toolbox to kind of undermine democracy. Since this guy was sworn in, there's no respect for the Constitution. There's no respect for people, and this what's happening in Texas is just another prime example. And what we're proposing that maybe what we bring before the voters in 2027, hope not to have to use it. But sometimes the best way to get a bully to stop being a bully is to remind them that they can also be bullied. So perhaps the Republican members of Congress here in New York could say to their Republican
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
colleagues in Texas, hey, slow down on this because this can also affect us. We'd like the world to play fair. Democracy should be fair. But what we're learning, and again, we're only,
You Democrats are the only ones that's cheating.
God help us, eight
You Democrats are the ones that always get caught cheating and lying.
months into this horror movie
But you Democrats always get away with cheating and lying.
of this presidency administration is that big disgusting bill that they're trying to fool people. I think
But now it's time for this shit to stop. You assholes should be fucking fired.
this is good. It's just nothing more but just another giveaway to the richest of the rich in this country. And so they're trying to fool us by saying, well, we're going to go with gerrymander and take out Democrats. And you'll hear from, my good colleague, Representative Jones will tell you the members of Congress that are under attack and who they're looking to get rid of. It's unfair. It's sickening. Like it's really like being in a bad movie of just a hostile takeover of what is supposed to be the greatest country in this world. So sad that we have to be here. But I say to all of you, all of the press here, your editorial boards keep asking us to be fair and play fair, and I think that's the wrong thing to ask us to do. So, with that, I'm going to turn over to my colleague, the leader of the Democrats in the Texas House, Representative Plesser.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Mihaela Plisa, and I proudly serve as the Vice Chair of the House Democratic Caucus and the constituents of House District 70 in Collin County. I just want to thank you for standing with us today and for your leadership. Your continued support reminds us that the fight to protect democracy is not confined to one state. The fight is for all 50, and I'm proud to stand with you. I'm joined here by my colleagues at the Texas House Democratic Caucus.
Don't forget, you assholes pushed Joe Biden clean out and covered his ass with Kamala Harris. What type of democracy?
Public servants who came to this work not to chase power, but to protect people. I'm proud to stand beside them in this moment.
Oh, them bitches cut me off. Y'all can't cut me off. I go back to where I was at, bitches. Hold on, y'all. Bitch, try to stop my phone from working. Bitch, cut my Facebook off. Cut me off because I was chopping their ass up. Why?
Now, Doug, I will.
And I'm proud to stand with you. I'm joined here by my colleagues at the Texas House Democratic Caucus, public servants who came to this work not to chase power, but to protect people. I'm proud to stand beside them in this moment of national urgency. Before we get into the redistricting crisis in Texas, I want to acknowledge something else that we share in common that connects us, and that's the recent flooding that happened in both of our states. New York just experienced flooding. They put people over policies, and they declared a state of emergency. In Texas, today marks the 1-month anniversary where over 130 people died, the majority of them being children. An incident that our governor has still failed to attend any funerals for the victims. People are rebuilding their lives. Their homes have been destroyed. They're burying their children.
Why y'all keep cutting my shit off, man? Hold on, man. I go to another phone. Oh, shit. Fucking AJ. The truth makes sense for change.
We begin with this Fox News alert standoff in Texas and a warning from Governor Greg Abbott. Republicans versus Democrats at the state level. The GOP is redistricting with a plan.
Fuck all the bullshit. They don't need to be.
And that plan is trying to go forward. And in the only play they have, and it's a flawed one, more than 50 Texas Democrats have run away from Texas to blue states across the country to try to keep Republicans from voting.
They don't need to be impeached. They need to be fired
On the issue that would leave
because it's a waste of our tax money
Democrats politically limping.
to put them in jail or impeach them. Literally, that's the reason why I say that they should be fucking fired.
You were in the Volcker focus. The President Trump-led effort to change the congressional map of Texas has Republicans at the ready to
Literally.
pick up 5 new seats in Texas next year. Texas Governor Abbott has threatened to remove those Democrats if they don't return today by 3 p.m. with a warning just moments ago.
Would be bribery if any lawmaker took money to perform or to refuse to perform an act in the legislature based upon comments made by legislators themselves.
These people can never be trusted again. They all need to be fucking fired immediately.
They face a
We, the taxpayers, should demand that they be fired too.
possibility of facing bribery charges, which is a second-degree felony in the state of Texas. There's one way to cure that, and that is if they get back to the state of Texas and make quorum today at a hearing that we have at 3 o'clock, they can cure themselves.
Fuck all the bullshit. Putting them in jail would be a waste of our tax money. All of them need to be fucking fired immediately. We, the people, should demand that all of them be fired because they're going against what we, the people, want.
Many quid pro quo that was subject that
It's a state house. Today is a great day to end the corruption of Greg Abbott. This has gone on far too long. Democrats say, come and take it. Come and take it. Do you think he could be successful taking your seats away? Yeah. It's all bluster, sound and fury signifying nothing. There is that little reporting of money, perhaps,
It's time to get rid of these children
coming or going to.
that works in Congress because they act like little fucking children when we grew up.
Dems who leave the states. I mean, that's what Governor Abbott's looking at.
Children. When
That's not legal.
we need adults in the room.
Karen Teddy is in Chicago.
We need adults in charge.
Also, Mary, you
We don't need a bunch of whining fucking children that act up when they don't get their fucking way.
are now in Chicago, a sanctuary city, and it's a sanctuary for a different reason today.
Children.
So yeah, Harrison, it looks like those Democrats could be here for at least the next 2 weeks until Texas special legislative session is over to try and delay a vote on this new congressional map. And delay is really the key word there because Republicans have enough of a majority in the Texas House that whenever Democrats do come back, the governor can just call another special session and this can easily pass. What Democrats are doing is trying to buy time to change public opinion and build outrage over
I want to know who money was spent on their trip.
Now, the Democratic process.
Did they use taxpayers' money for their trip? Because this trip should have been against the law if they used our tax money to go over there when their jobs was where
Texas lawmakers are now facing a $500 fine for every day.
was in Texas. That's where their jobs entitled them to be. That's why I say that they all should be fired immediately.
But they are not at the Capitol, and you heard Governor Abbott there threatening to have them arrested or even potentially to try to have them removed from office. And nationally, though, this redistricting fight is creating waves with some blue state governors like J.B. Pritzker here in Illinois suggesting they could push to change congressional maps in their states to make up for any seats that Democrats might lose in Texas.
So let's be clear, this is not just rigging the system in Texas. It's about rigging the system against the rights of all Americans for years to come. All bets are off. Everything's got to be on the table.
State Republicans here in Illinois have been quick to point out the irony of Texas Democrats protesting the fairness of congressional maps by coming to a state where Democrats hold 78% of the congressional seats in a place where only 54% of voters chose the Democratic candidate this past election. Harris. All right, Garrett, thank you very much. Steve Hilton, Republican candidate for the governor of the state of California. What's your take on this?
Democrat assholes think
It's
he's stupid.
hilarious to see these Democrats talking about moral clarity and rigging the system because all of this
These Democrat rats believe that we are really stupid. And the truth is the truth. If you are a believer, you really are a lying fucking loser and you are stupid.
fairness was actually started by Democrats, and it was started by Democrats
Because there's no truth in believe.
right here in
Literally, the word believe only has lies.
California. People say a level playing field, and so when Gavin Newsom, who's now saying that if Texas goes ahead, he's going to call a special election to overturn the California Constitution to steal another 5 House seats from Republicans, I'm saying no to that. I've been in conversation with my lawyers all weekend. We've got the legal basis now, and we're going to be announcing this tomorrow to stop Gavin Newsom if he tries to go ahead with his further gerrymandering of the district. So we've got to realize who started this. It was Democrats.
You know what? You talk about legal, so we dug in today. Governor Abbott is citing a non-binding 2021 legal opinion that was issued then, which suggested a court could determine that a legislature had forfeited their office. All of the stakes are getting higher and higher in this. How do you see particularly the situation in Texas ending up?
In Texas, it seems that the governor has absolutely clearly their legal arguments on his side. And so you're seeing this, and I don't suppose he would have gone into it without knowing that. And so and each state has different rules, each state has a constitution. That's how it works in our system in America. And so for the Democrats just petulantly walk out and say, well, we don't like the rules, we don't like the constitution, we don't like the way it works, well, tough luck. These are the people, by the way, who constantly lecture us, the Democrats, about the rule of law and our democracy, protecting our democracy, except when they don't like the outcome. Then they walk out.
Look, it was 2021 when 38 of them walked out on a voting law they didn't like. That's how this whole thing got started in that state. You told us about the hypocrisy and how it started in your state of California. Critics are calling out Texas Dems and those supporting them for hypocrisy. Democrats are exploring gerrymandering in their favor in states that have independent commissions. Those are blue right now. They're light blue on our map. The dark blue on the map are the states where Democrats have already drawn districts to totally advantage themselves. So this is more about what you were talking about, Steve. They got this party started. A spokesperson for former California Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger with this statement, his position until law was overthrown. He is still committed to independent redistricting in every state around the country. He thinks we have to get rid of gerrymandering, get rid of gridlock, and have politicians who actually care about the people, about what people think. Steve, he's actually calling out both parties in all of this.
Well, he is right.
commissions doing it, because in California, the so-called independent process was completely hijacked by and corrupted by Democrats. We have to be truthful about this. And so this idea that the Republicans are starting this is completely false. You've got this going on. Democrats have been doing this for years, playing dirty for years. Finally, the Republican Party is waking up and saying, why should we just sit here and take it from these Democrats who gerrymander districts in their favor in California and in other blue states and just do nothing? No, it's time to fight back. And I think it's exactly right, because we do need to have fairness in the system, ideally with an independent process. But if you can't have an independent process for real, then you need to have a level playing field. I see that as what's going on right now in Texas and elsewhere, because it's not just Texas. I think we're going to see things in Ohio and
As he
elsewhere.
pushed Britain, hey, drill for bigger oil. From the UK Prime Minister, Liz Truss, joins me now.
Is Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman down in Texas, and my team took a look. The redistricting would put where she lives outside her district. I mean, they're playing chess. Okay, other people may be playing checkers, but the Republicans right now have looked at the map and they're going, yeah, we're gonna take that. We'll see what happens. We're covering it all, and thank you for that California perspective, because that's the next battleground. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Harris. Great to be with you.
You too. An illegal immigrant is accused of driving drunk and killing a New Jersey mom and her 11-year-old daughter. The Department of Homeland Security says he has a long criminal record, and the blame falls squarely on that state's sanctuary laws. Plus, even some Democrats are coming around on President Trump's tariffs.
Seems like the biggest mistake was in China.
Big money already pouring in. The president's announced new tariff rates that will take effect this week. Will they push China and other countries to make deals? Senator Marsha Blackburn of the great state of Tennessee. Immigration officials have begun removal proceedings for the illegal immigrant charged with killing a mom and her 11-year-old daughter in a wrong-way DUI crash. He's from Mexico, facing 2 charges of vehicular homicide and assault. He is a repeat offender with priors for domestic violence and 2 previous DUIs. DHS says in that state where this happened, New Jersey, the policies let him stay in America despite his criminal record. Yes, it's just so gut-wrenching, and it is these sanctuary city policies, and it is the reason that an 11-year-old and her mother were reported to hang out with us today, because when the domestic violence charge came, when those 2 weeks of review charges came, what those sanctuary city policies did was not allow ICE into those prisons to remove this alien, so that he was released back onto New Jersey streets and commit this fatal crime. City talk below the city. Well, family members told me the New Jersey mom had just taken her daughter and her daughter's friend out to burn the milkshake when the crash event. Now, loved ones have just said their final goodbyes. Prosecutors say Maria Fuentes was killed instantly. Her 11-year-old daughter, Gwen Cortez, was rushed to the hospital, but her young life could not be saved. The daughter's friend, also 11 years old, was in the backseat and thankfully is expected to be okay. DHS says Luna Perez, an illegal migrant from Mexico, crossed into oncoming traffic, slamming head-on into the mother and daughter. First responders noticed on scene that Luna Perez seemed intoxicated. His blood was strong and tested with a authorized warrant. But those test results are still pending. For now, he is facing charges of 2 counts of vehicular homicide and assault by auto. DHS now slamming New Jersey's sanctuary policies, saying that the crash was entirely preventable if only local officers had been able to contact ICE about the suspect's previous arrest.
This was totally avoidable. Had the local jurisdiction just worked with us on those 2 previous DUI arrests that he had, or even the domestic violence in 2020.
Policies not yet heard back. Back to you. Yeah, thank you. And focus out Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, this seems to be happening on a regular basis, and I'm curious. I mean, many of these people who have driver's licenses who are here illegally, but we're certainly not making sure that they're driving sober that they have all the rules in the road and all that. I mean, we're fighting a storm without an umbrella.
Chris, if you were with me in Tennessee and visiting with our county sheriffs, you would hear them talk about the increase in DUIs and their concern. But as you and I have talked many times, every town's a border town, every state a border state. Because of Joe Biden, his open border policy, these sanctuary city mayors and sanctuary state governors who have this policy which actually has no compassion for citizens who are harmed by those criminal, illegal aliens. And thank goodness for President Donald Trump and Secretary Null and Tom Homan, who are deporting these criminal, illegal aliens. And these enforcement officers need to be working with ICE so that we remove people who are illicit dangerous from the country.
Senator Alex facing some heat for this framing of the issue of illegal immigration watch.
And the focus is made on the people who have been here, millions of long-term residents of the United States who happen to be undocumented, that have been the target of this administration's increasingly aggressive and cruel arrest, detention, and deportation policies. And this devastating illegal aliens and aliens that they just don't to make this issue.
It's odd to me though that that's part of the issue. Others have said this from DHS. If you look at the list of how many people are being deported, over 56% of them are on we need to leave immediately. They're on final orders. Then you have those on expedited orders. And I don't understand why they make something so untrue part of the conversation, except for it's like social lives.
And you're right about that. And when you're talking about these individuals that entered the country, first of all, that is a crime. You cannot illegally enter the United States. So let's set that aside. And then you have these other people who are criminal illegal aliens. But you have some Democrats who are carrying out this violence, the uptick against the police officers, the sit-ins, the storming of ICE headquarters. Harris, President Donald Trump said, "You elect me, I will secure the border." He has done that. You elect me, we will deport these criminal illegal aliens. He has done that. Crime, violent crime is down in more cities. This is what the American people wanted to see. Democrats who were speaking out against this are speaking out against what the majority of the American people wanted to see happen. Because I meet with an Neil Barrett, I just read Sark's roundup. I mean, it is heartbreaking to me that these crimes are taking place, these lives are being lost because of people.
I'm Levin, and thank you for joining me on this Sunday night edition of Life Liberty and Levin. And I have two phenomenal guests on the program, Senator Tom Cotton and Congressman Court Deason. But before we get to them, I need to talk to you about something more bigger than headlines or talking points. I want to take you deeper into what I believe is not just a political scandal, but the most profound abuse of power in modern American history.
He's of the belief
This isn't simply
that by
about Donald Trump, it's
limiting the
about
war
erosion
and
of our
ordering
rights, human
serious
liberties, and the integrity of the
negotiations, in other
institutions
words,
that we decide to protect them.
is what
This is
President
about
Trump
the
and
weaponization of
President
federal
Zelensky
government
would agree to that.
to crush opposition,
He
silence
believes
dissent,
that by
and permanently
limiting
shift the
it,
balance of power in
frustrates the United
America
States and
away
we
from
will
the
pull our
people and
support.
toward an
And
entrenched
the same
middle
thing will
class.
happen
I wrote
in
about
Europe.
this in my book.
And it's also the
And I
reason
want to
why
remind everyone of the distinction I make there between positive and
Deputy
negative
Chairman
power.
of the Security
Positive
Council
power is exercised
was
within
using
constitutional
intimidation and
boundaries and serves the
psychological
public,
warfare by
maintains
brandishing
order,
the
and protects
threat of
liberty.
nuclear weapons to
But negative
undermine
power is
the
corrosive.
United States
It
support
serves
for the
only
war.
itself. It
None
disguises
of
its
this
aims with
is
noble sounding
working
language,
for
but
the
it
president.
destroys the
And
mechanisms of
that's the
accountability.
reality of it. He sees
And
through
this
this.
is the
And
now.
number one, he has
Living
made a
unmistakably in
decision
an age of
to
soft
increase
authoritarianism,
military assistance
a
to
form of
Ukraine,
authoritarian
and at the
democracy
same
where
time take the
elections still
American
happen,
taxpayer
but
off
their
the table
outcomes
so
are
they don't have to
manipulated
fund
behind the
it.
scenes by
The
unlikely
Europeans
bureaucrats,
are
media
buying our
operatives, and
weapons and
political
giving them to
activists who
Ukraine.
prove their abuse of
And
power.
also,
In the
based
language
on,
of
we'll
justice,
see what
equity,
comes
and
up with
national
Trump,
security, they've
talk
taken
with Putin in
institutions
Moscow
known to check tyranny and
this week.
repurpose them into
But it
weapons
looks like by the
to
weekend,
enforce ideological conformity.
President Trump,
It's not just
unless
happening in the
Putin
shadows
submits
anymore. It's in
to
plain view.
negotiations
Let's go back to
that
2016.
involve a
Hillary
ceasefire,
Clinton's campaign
then
in
these
cooperation
sanctions
with
are going to be
high-ranking officials in the
effective.
Obama
But look,
administration
Putin's
created
got
and
as
pushed
you know,
a false narrative
and
that
have
Donald
reported
Trump
on
was
many
colluding
times,
with
they
Russia
have
to
a
win
one
the presidency.
commodity
That
economy.
wasn't a
That's petroleum and
misunderstanding. That
gas.
was a deliberate
And if
act
you
of
start
disinformation
down
directed by
the
political
people who are
operatives
buying that
paid
oil
for
and gas,
through
principally
funded
China,
campaign funds
India,
disguised as
Venezuela,
legal
Brazil,
fees
some other
and
countries,
funneled through law
that's going to
firms
take a
and
toll
opposition
on
research
Putin's
groups like
economy.
Fusion GPS.
Maybe not
They
immediately,
commissioned
but
the
it's
Steele
something
dossier,
eventually. He
a
already
fraudulent
had a
document
struggling
compiled
economy,
by a
as you
discredited
reported
former
in
British
yourself.
spy using
Trump
anonymous
said
Russian
that
sources.
about
That dossier was then fed into the highest levels of our intelligence community despite being totally unverified. The FBI and CIA, at the direction of the Obama White House, took that dossier and used it to justify surveillance against American citizens against Trump's campaign. That's not an investigation, that's an operation. That's an election interference scheme dressed up as an intelligence group. John Brennan, then CIA director, briefed President Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to tie Trump to Russia.
and
Rather
also
than stopping
submarine
it,
laws
Obama, and in December
We
2016,
don't
in
know
the final days of his
what
presidency,
here, and I
Obama
don't
met
think
with
it's
top
all that
officials,
important.
Attorney General
I think
Rubino,
what
then
is
FBI
important is he
Director
doesn't
James
buy
Comey,
into this
DNI, James Clinton,
intimidation
and Brennan himself,
that
and
is so
instructed them to make just
successful
intelligence
the
assessments
Biden
to fit the false
administration
narrative.
as such.
Career
But
analysts
the Biden
inside the
administration
CIA
brought in
checked.
to the
They
threat
knew
that
it was
Putin
wrong.
may
They knew
eventually
the
use
dossier
tactical nuclear
violated
weapons in
fundamental
Ukraine,
trade left
and that
principles. They
restricted
were
the use of many of our weapons. They delayed it and
They
protracted
needed to
the
leave
war.
office having shaped
The
public narrative
president is
that Trump was
intimidated by
compromised,
that.
even though they had to fabricate it. That's not
Messaging.
democratic
The
oversight.
Putin
That's
is the
state-sponsored
your game of
propaganda. It's something
psychological
you'd expect
warfare
from
to
the
try to
KGB
intimidate me
or the Stasi.
and
And
motivate
the
me to
media,
pull away
the
from
internal
the
schools, they became
and I
participants in
think
it.
that's
Instead, the New York Times, they ran with every leak made it verified. They didn't investigate. They printed whatever anonymous intelligence officials
that
had.
Russia posed.
They weren't watching
It's
us, they were
simply that.
collaborators.
You're
And
dealing
when
with
Trump took
different
office, the war
presidents
intensified. The deep state bureaucracy,
Not
intelligence
just
agencies, DOJ, Mueller's, and federal prosecutors refused to accept the results of the election. They leaked classified information. They sabotaged his administration. They pushed 100% on Russia, Ukraine, the Mueller report, the impeachments. It never stopped. It was never meant to. And when Trump left office, they weren't relieved. They were terrified because Trump had survived their attacks. He'd exposed Iran, and he was still a threat. So they did what all regimes do when they fear and learning this. They launched warfare. They found prosecutors in D.C., New York, and Georgia, jurisdictions they control politically, and hit him with one indictment after another. Jack Smith was brought in as a special counsel, not because he's fair or impartial, but because he has a record of going after political targets with ruthless aggression. He's been reversed by the Supreme Court before. That didn't matter. He was chosen because he did the job. They charged Trump under the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act, the Reconstruction Era statute, meant to protect newly freed slaves. They charged him under obstruction laws originally written for Enron-like financial scandals. They charged him with conspiracy to defraud the United States for challenging an election outcome, something Democrats have done repeatedly. They invaded Mar-a-Lago with armed FBI agents treating a former president like a cartel boss, all over a document dispute that could have been resolved through negotiation. 40 felony counts. Then came New York's Alvin Bragg with 34 more. Then came Fani Willis in Georgia with 13 more. This wasn't about justice. It was about preventing Donald Trump from ever appearing on another ballot. But there's more. Recently discovered documents, burn bags from the FBI revealed that this operation was even more extensive than we thought. Communications between the DNC and George Soros's Open Society Foundation show delivered plans to plant the Russia hoax story in mainstream media using intelligence-connected channels. Emails show that Obama intended to shut down the Clinton email investigation and pivot attention to Trump's supposed ties to Russia. It was all a smokescreen, a grand deception executed through federal agencies, NGOs, and media assets, the same media that now pretends none of it happened. And what about accountability? Where's the outrage in Congress? Where are the hearings? Why are Soros and his organizations who openly fund left-wing prosecutors and activist campaigns not subject to public scrutiny? Why is it acceptable for political campaigns to fabricate foreign interference plots and launder them through intelligence agencies with zero consequences? Why does no one ask how thousands of classified documents, evidence from the Russia collusion probe, were hidden for years in burn bags? That's obstruction. That's true. But no one's goes for that. Instead, they continue to go after Trump and, by extension, you, Because make no mistake, this is not about one man, this is about what a ruling class can use the machinery of government to destroy its enemies and maintain power indefinitely. This is about whether we still have a republic or whether we are now a post-constitutional state. Every institution they've captured, DOJ, FBI, CIA, media, universities, big tech, they now use as part of a coordinated ideological enforcement arm. This is what I mean by soft negative power. It doesn't wear jackets, it wears suits. It sits behind a desk, it drafts memos, leaks stories, and files lawsuits. It doesn't burn books, it deplatforms, it doesn't imprison journalists. It just makes sure they never get the job in the first place. And it doesn't silence opposition directly. It gets your bank to cut you off, your employer to fire you, your social media to suspend you. This is how modern tyranny operates, with a smile and a subpoena. And now, even after 2 federal cases against Trump have collapsed under legal and constitutional scrutiny, they're still clinging to their last hope.
Thank you, my man. Thank
In
you.
states where they control the judges, the prosecutor,
Thank you.
and the juries, but they won't stop there. If Trump wins in 2024, they will escalate again. They'll claim the election was stolen. They'll riot. They'll file more lawsuits, because this was never about election integrity. It was never about collusion. It was always about control. I've spent my life studying and defending the Constitution. I've practiced law for over 4 decades. I know tyranny when I see it, and I'm telling you, it's already here. If we allow this kind of abuse to become normalized, if we shrug our shoulders when former presidents are prosecuted for political reasons, when journalists are co-opted, when intelligence agencies meddle in elections, then we will lose our republic. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a slow, suffocating erosion. The only answer is to stand firm, to expose the lies, to speak the truth, to reject the narratives, to elect people with courage, and to hold every single one of these corrupt actors accountable. Because if we don't stop this now, if we don't root it out, it won't just be Trump. They come for next. It will be you, your voice, your vote, your freedom. That's what's at stake. And that's why we fight. Hi everyone, I'm joined by Jerry Lewis, Molly Line, Joey Jones, and welcome to the Big Weekend Show. Tonight's story is not just about politics, it's about power, concealment, and corruption at the highest levels of government. We're looking at what increasingly appears to be a coordinated pattern of cover-ups, intimidation, and obstruction, all to protect the narrative and a political class that's desperate to stay in control. From Biden's cognitive decline to insider trading on Capitol Hill, this isn't just about individual scandals, it's about an entire system built on protecting its own no matter the cost, the transparency, trust, and democracy itself. This week, a particularly revealing detail emerged. Mike Donovan, a top aide and close confidant to President Biden, claimed he didn't know what an event was. This looks like revelations that he had been offered an $8 million incentive if Biden were to win re-election. Think about that. Someone at the core of Biden's political machine who stood to benefit immensely from another term, pleading ignorance over a basic presidential tool. Is that plausible, or is it convenient? It raises serious questions, not just about whether Biden's inner circle was aware of his massive decline, but whether they were actively incentivized to hide it. And the cover-ups don't stop there. According to reporting from journalist Mark Halperin, the Biden team has operated not just within official channels, but outside of them, deliberately avoiding congressional scrutiny. Why? What are they so afraid the public might learn? Well, consider this. According to a Republican Congresswoman, Democrats in Congress privately acknowledge Biden's cognitive decline. During a conversation over the now stonewalled contempt vote against Merrick Garland, remember the one about hiding the Berbinsky tapes? A prominent Democrat reportedly said, just as well as I know the state of the condition he's in, we don't have to push the topic or make it more controversial. In other words, they knew. They just chose silence over accountability. And when it comes to oversight, don't expect much. Most of those involved are likely to plead the fifth. That's not transparency, that's fear. But it doesn't end with Biden. A new whistleblower from the intelligence community brought forth by former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard claims there was direct pressure to fall in line with Obama's 2017 Russia assessment, even though it violated core tradecraft principles. The whistleblower was told to ignore analytic standards, and when they pushed back, the supervisor said, "Isn't it possible Putin has something on Trump to blackmail him?" In other words, the outcome was pre-decided. Intelligence wasn't being gathered, it was being shaped to fit a political objective. That's not oversight, that's propaganda. And now we're learning that American citizens, including the sitting president, had their civil liberties trampled in the process. And as for obstruction, no further than the Democrats' treatment of ICE. Months they've waged a campaign to disrupt operations, stage stunts at detention centers, and create chaos for political gain. And now, despite being granted visitation rights as long as they're scheduled in advance, they're suing the Trump administration to manufacture more trauma. This isn't about oversight, it's about optics. It's about painting ICE agents as villains and illegal immigrants as sympathetic victims, all while law enforcement struggles to do its job in increasingly hostile conditions. But the swamp runs even deeper. Enter Nancy Pelosi, who's now under fresh scrutiny for her financial dealings, specifically insider trading. Pelosi and her husband have amassed a fortune, largely thanks to well-timed stock trades that seem to follow key legislative or regulatory decisions. The NVIDIA options, the Microsoft buys, these are not just lucky guesses. This is what it looks like when it pulls out of Planet Wall Street, Planet Washington, and Pelosi pushes it, and my husband does the trading. Sure. The truth is, being married to someone trading privileged information is not a shield from scrutiny. It's a flashing red light. It's no surprise the public wants this stopped. Polls show over 80% of Americans support a ban on congressional stock trading, and yet nothing happens. Why? Because too many in power are benefiting. Congresswoman Anna Paulina is pushing for a ban, but even she admits she's getting pushback. Why wouldn't she? Down on influence and access. Members of Congress attend classified briefings, meet with industry leaders, and they conveniently beat the market month after month. Social media accounts track and some lawmakers consistently outperform hedge funds. It's not just suspicious, it's obscene. And this corruption has real consequences. Just look at Georgia, where Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler lost their seats under a cloud of insider trading accusations. It cost Republicans control of the Senate. And it's not just about stock profits, it's about public trust. The American people expect their representatives to serve the country, not their portfolios. Wall Street has rules, why doesn't Washington? And so here we are again, watching a government that works overtime to protect its own, while leaving the public in the dark. From Biden's decline and the manipulation of intelligence to obstructing law enforcement and gaming the stock market, this is not how a functioning republic behaves. It's how an unaccountable ruling class consolidates power while pretending to serve the people. And the big question remains, will anything change? Will congressional leaders finally act on insider trading? Will whistleblowers be heard? Will Biden's handlers ever face questions about their cover-ups? Or will the American people be left with more silence, more stonewalling, and more scandals brushed under the rug? That's what we'll be diving into tonight, right here on the Big Weekend Show. Stick around, there's a lot more to come.
I'm just saying good people. I'm talking you bad people too. Can't nobody make y'all news too. Just like can't nobody make y'all do what y'all do. A lot of people just ain't thinking for themselves. A lot of people just doing the same old because that's all they know. Not knowing they don't know shit. Not knowing that your whole life is based on belief. And the truth is, it's natural motion. A natural order to live by while living in.
On this Sunday night edition of Life, Liberty, and Lemon, we're going to have
That's why I don't like when it gets when it was just turning shit on. I like when they do that. But anyway, I'm not trying to convince you of shit. But I am trying to remind you, you should be thinking, it is what it is. You're born to do just that. To think about what you're doing, to be responsible. It is what it is. You should be thinking 24 fucking 7. But that's just it. Naturally, you're supposed to be doing that. So if you're not thinking, what are you doing? You're believing. If you're not thinking, what are you doing? You understand? If you're not thinking, what are you doing? You're having faith. If you're not thinking, what are you doing? You're hoping. When you're not thinking, you're doing all of these different things, but not thinking. But that's what they was taught. That's what we was taught. I say it again. That's what we was taught. We was taught to not think. We was taught to make believe, understand, have faith, and hope. We were taught to not think. We were taught to not know that the truth is in knowing. Not believing. The truth is in knowing. Not understanding. The truth is in knowing. Not having faith. The truth is in knowing. Not hoping. The truth is in knowing. In order, you heard that, huh? In order to be responsible. As a man, knowing where his penis go. As a woman, knowing what her vagina do. That's it, that's all. Everything else is extra for you. But you gotta get the basics first. And know how the basics work. You gotta know your natural order. I'm just saying.